Okay, for all you Lichtenberg enthusiasts out there, I thought you might get a kick out of this. Some old coal mining equipment. I asked the Italian over there loading up his tractor if I could take some pictures, and he didn't like the idea, but he got used to it. Persistence pays. Anyway, I know y'all are not gonna just don't do it. Don't do it ain't gonna work for this group of folks, and that's really part of what makes progress happen. Dangerous things are just something we've done for a long time. Best thing you can do is just try to figure it out and make sure you know what you need to know to not get yourself killed. Heck, you can go into battle that way. They do every day. And your enemy here and your friend is the current, right? And there's a lot to know about that. It's not trivial, and electricians know a good bit, but there's a whole lot more that's very essential to know here. So that's the whole idea here, is to just go slow, talk about some of these things, the way potential works, the way electrons move, and just keep it as simple as possible and close to the application of the Lichtenberg as possible, but not so simple that you miss essential information. So with that said, let's go back to the drawing here and see if we can't reinforce a couple of ideas.
Okay, so let's take another look at this, the same circuit diagram as the previous video, but I've done a little bit better job here of showing the one of many potential bad current paths. And the root cause of it right here is this connection. Now, let's just go through we'll take a look at the normal current path you want in just a second and come back to this, but let's take a look at current leaving terminal A. Now, of course, you're going to say this is AC, the terminal's coming into and going out of A all the time, 60 times a second, or 50 if you're in Europe, but let's just speak about it like it's going out. The normal pathway, down through your wooden piece that you're burning, and for some reason, something's gone wrong. This connection has gone bad, so current can't return through its normal path. This connection comes and goes all the time. That's why you have the arcing and the sharp carbon forming at the tip of the electrode. It can happen at this electrode as well. And then you have the sort of opposite problem. So that's something we'll come back to, and I apologize for getting off this topic here. Let's just say this connection's gone bad, or this cable has gone bad, or you've had some kind of a bad return path here, whereas now the current coming up here out of terminal A down through the wood can find a path that looks as attractive to it as this one used to before it went bad. That path can include directly onto a conductive table, such as a table made of wood with some moisture content, of course a metal table, through this red rubber conductive pad, through holes and moisture and spills and things like that, or just around the edge of the pad. If you get your wood burning piece and a clamp or something over here at the edge of the pad, it can easily find its way into your table. And if you happen to be close enough to touch that table into you, it can find its way through protective gloves. If the gloves aren't rated to voltage, aren't in good condition, it can find its way through protective footwear if it's not appropriate, or not in good condition, or not in the condition it was designed to be used in. In other words, wet. Imagine a damp shirt sleeve here, touching this table for just a second, and you notice our operator here has got one foot on a pad, which doesn't guarantee anything. Some of these pads I've seen with holes big enough that you could drive a ton of electrons through, but in this case he's got his foot directly on the ground, so the path might not go might or might not go this way. It might go this way through this foot, or it might go through both feet simultaneously, up the arm, through the torso, through both feet simultaneously. Anyhow, the point is, why is this circuit even able to take this path starting out through here? Because it can come back through ground to this ground connection through your chassis to point B, which is where it desires so much to go. Now, if you have a plastic case, then you don't have this type of connection through your chassis ground. However, if you have a plastic case and you have made a connection, this connection, directly to your neutral coming in through a piece of wire, and you've got that piece of wire inside your plastic case, you are inviting these bad currents to return through ground, because you've now made ground available to them. You've made ground available to terminal B, which is trying to pull these electrons in as hard as it can. As hard as terminal A is trying to push them out, terminal B is trying just as hard to find some way to get them back home. So, I hope that made sense. Now let's go to the normal current path. Okay, let's see, we're recording? Yes. Okay, so this scenario is the much preferred way to do this. It's not completely without danger, because you got high voltage connection. Please, not battery clamps. Let's go to the next level on that. But you've got some kind of a high voltage connection to a board. This is one possible electrical model for a board, and we can debate among mathematicians, people very good with linear algebra, what the correct model is out here. But this is a good working model. It's very solid for our purposes. So let's talk about what happens here under the good scenario. First of all, we have eliminated this connection here, the connection from the secondary to the frame of the transformer, which often gets overlooked and is mistakenly connected to earth ground, creating a host of hazards. We just covered some of them in the previous segment. So what happens when this connection is gone? It means no longer can terminal B try to pull up electrons from the chassis. It means that as A tries to push out electrons, and of course they're going back and forth, it's AC, but let's talk about it as if A was pushing your arc this way, terminal B was trying to pull your arc this way. B can no longer pull it through all these unknown, crazy, uncontrollable current paths back to B. B cannot pull it because it's no longer hooked to ground. The connection to ground was what enabled all these accidents to be able to find their way toward you. Now, what we do have here is a conductor and a very good insulating system, which is a whole different topic, which we will evolve as time goes on. At least those of us who live will evolve that topic. Those of us have a high probability of no accident will consider that next. For now, let's assume chassis ground is gone. A pushes out current, and then how the fractal process works is multiple current paths can be found through the wood. Some are more preferable than others. There is no one current path at any given time. There is only one current path of least resistance. And in that current path, you'll have enough energy dissipated to burn out some little tiny part of the wood. We have them modeled here as resistors, each little tiny part of the wood. These could be thought of as something as small as a cubic millimeter, or the size of a cell in a tree. It doesn't matter. When one of these burns out, then another current path takes over. That is what causes the branching in the fractal pattern, in the Lichtenberg, in the burning pattern that you see. It's not really a fractal, whatever. So as parts of the wood get burned out, they are no longer the path of least resistance, and the current seeks another path. The idea of getting rid of this chassis ground is in this whole process of the electrons trying to seek to find their way back home, to go from A, and then once they're released into the world, to seek a path back to home, B. Getting rid of this chassis ground eliminates all kinds of pathways that lead through you, or your dog, or your kid, or your wife, or whoever. Even things, inanimate objects you don't want to destroy. And this is why you want to provide a secure, a very robust return pathway, as robust as the source pathway. When these two become isolated, one is exactly as dangerous as the other. Okay? You have to think in terms of, I'm in everything that's between point A, this electrode, and point B is in danger, because electrons are going to try to go out of that electrode probe into the other probe. But that is a whole lot less to be concerned about than if you have this chassis ground in place, which enables current pathways to come through all sorts of things. Anything that wants to get back down to this ground, which we've shown here that Ready Kilowatt's standing on, there's all kinds of ways now that B is going to try to pull current through your insulating pad, through holes in your insulating pad, through your table if possible. There are people out there that have burned holes in their tabletop because of the way their Lichtenberg device is built on a board, and there's a screw holding the transformer down that goes almost through the board, and that board of their Lichtenberg device is sitting on this wooden table. So they've got a current pathway that comes down out of their workpiece into the table, back up through the table to terminal B, because they've got this whole apparatus sitting on the table. Now, I have no problem sitting this apparatus on the same table. In fact, there are a lot of advantages in terms of reducing erroneous current paths, dangerous current paths, by leaving this apparatus on the same table as your workpiece. I'm going to think about that some more and draw out different scenarios, but I've thought about it enough to say that I think that having one table containing your workpiece and your Lichtenberg device is a good idea. The main reason is because these leads don't have to stretch from one table to another, and that creates many, many opportunities for all sorts of accidents to happen, even if somebody doesn't run through your workspace, or your dog doesn't pee on your foot or something really crazy. Just having these cables not stretching between your work table, with your workpiece on it, and your separate table with your Lichtenberg device, just having these cables not stretch between those two tables is a very good thing. And once again, I apologize for going on to that two-table tangent. It's just one of many little things that you can see as an engineer who's been experienced in military and medical work and reliability work, with other experienced engineers, each of us criticizing the other's work, looking for holes, looking for problems. This is the kind of environment that leads to consumer products that don't kill people, and that's exactly what we're trying to do here. So I invite two things. One is for other engineers to get involved, and advanced electricians who are humble enough to know their limitations. They're kind of rare, but they exist. But for other engineers that are involved with safety and high voltage, I welcome some kind of collaboration. And I'm going to also throw down the gauntlet here. If anybody who thinks they know better It's out there, been doing this for years without an accident. Those kind of clowns can come to me and make the argument that, oh, I think this chassis ground, this terminal B should be connected to chassis ground because that's the way it's in the microwave, or whatever excuse you have. I bring it on. Bring it on. We'll have that debate in public. That's how wrong you are about wanting to have this chassis ground here. I can absolutely guarantee you any credible engineer, any serious person involved with this field will understand immediately what I'm talking about here. This is not obvious. It's no fault of yours. If you're an electrician or whatever, some good electricians will get this. Many novices will not. So that's it for this review of the good way. Now let's go back and talk about the bad way for a little bit more, just to make sure we really understand what's bad about the bad way. It's very important to understand this if you're going to be working with this kind of voltages and currents and situation. Okay. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not beating a dead horse here by making this point again. But this specifically, this connection right here on the microwave transformer from the one secondary lead to the frame of that transformer is the biggest single mistake and the most potentially deadly mistake that many, almost all YouTubers are overlooking. Almost all woodworkers who are using this technique. And it's obvious to an engineer that's worked in these types of fields for 50 years almost. This sort of thing's obvious. It's not obvious to an electrician. This connection is normally made inside the microwave oven. It's very deceiving because it's an appliance. It's a closed appliance. All these wires are stable. They're subject to a certain range of vibration, which is very low. They are subject to a certain temperature variations, which are very low and controlled. However, when you take this transformer out of the microwave oven and you screw it down to a board, or you bolt it into a beautiful looking enclosure or something in between these two, this is no longer in its normal operating environment, and all bets are off. If you leave this connection in place, you have provided hundreds of ways, thousands of ways, every way that an electron can imagine, for terminal B now to try to attract electrons back through this current path. Should, for whatever reason, this clamp, this wire, this conductor have any issue, it doesn't have to be a total failure, it could be some partial failure that makes it slightly less than the most attractive pathway back for the electrons to reach point B here. So by leaving that ground in place, you've left the door open for all these kinds of crazy accidents to happen. Now, real quick here, what will be consistent about every accident that's related to this is the current path that I'm tracing out now, back here to ground, right to ground at this point. What will change like crazy is the path through which the current leaves the board that you're working on and somehow gets to your body. Doesn't have to go through the table. It can go directly through, if you're using probes, which is foolish, that leaves 100 and more ways that you can have some kind of a failure that allows current to enter your body. Your arms are particularly susceptible because from one arm to the other, it crosses the chest area. Old-time electricians have their back pocket cut out so they could keep one hand literally on their ass if they're going to touch some high voltage, to provide a good way to let current get to ground. And I'm not so sure how well that works, but this is what I'm told by some electricians who are long dead now. In any case, I'm off the subject again. It's typical with me. And anyway, so it's this connection. Now, if this connection were not there, and you had a failure here, let's say your probe tip wasn't touching your board very well, or it had burned away the area it was touching. Or let's say you've got a connector up here that came loose. Okay? It's okay, because if this connection's not here, B can only pull through the remaining conductor, through whatever conductive path remains to it. It won't be able to pull through the board. So your current will drop to very close to zero. It's still a dangerous situation, but it's nowhere near as dangerous as if you do have this connection to your chassis from pin B. Now I should say, there's you out there who have used a plastic enclosure, which is a very good attempt. It's not a bad idea, but if you made the mistake of making the connection between here, your chassis of your transformer, and here, your neutral coming in, then your plastic box is providing very minimal additional improvement. Very minimal, if any. I've got to, we need to do an analysis on that, but cut that connection out. No connection between your primary circuit ground, your earth ground coming in, and the secondary in any place. Anybody who tells you that that's a good idea, have them, I am more than willing to have a public debate with that individual about this topic. This is beyond the territory of some electricians. There are electricians out here who totally get this, totally get it. But there are electricians who won't, apprentice or people that never move beyond apprentice levels. So, okay, I think that's enough for now. Good luck. Good luck. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this is my wrap up. This is a risky process, but men have risked their lives on something new to give their families security. The idea that we do that is as old as mankind. Anybody takes this in some kind of a misogynistic way, go to hell. Now the Lichtenberg process is a new way to take a risk and turn it into an opportunity for your family. Simple as that. But it has dangers the average fellow has not worked with in such a close way. Okay? And we all know that. So we're finding our way through this. I'm stepping up, and I hope other engineers will, to really find our way through this in a way that your average guy can do this sort of thing with a good foundation of confidence, not with a false confidence. Okay. Anyway, I think this does need. I'm a good engineer, and I've been at this for a long time and worked in all the right fields to make my comments. But I really do think that collaborative situations, it's always good when you bust each other's balls and poke holes in each other's ideas, and somehow out of that process, it's an aggressive process, comes the best idea, the best ways to do things. And anyway, I'm hoping that out of that process, we can keep pushing this step by step towards a technique that you can use with as much confidence as a table saw. Now, table saw has its risks. Everything has some risks. It's just a matter of at what level we want them to be. Do we want our most creative people that are out there pushing these new processes and looking for more beautiful ways to do things and so forth get burned up from the inside out? No. That's why I'm encouraging other engineers to get involved with this. I should stop here, but I'm going to make a political statement. I'm not really going to make the statement I want to make, but I'm going to inkle. which means hint, inkle. We used to play cards in college, and inkling was something they did in these card games. Now look, in the end, I hope the users get a new perspective of how valuable a STEM education could be. Science, technology, engineering, and math. There's need for humanities, but not so much. It's a business. The humanities education racket is just that, a racket. But anyway, how valuable STEM education can be and how it can be put to good use. This Lichtenberg process is a perfect example, life and death example, of why electronics should be taught from the first grade. Electronics should be taught from the first grade. I'm not saying the teachers are anywhere near qualified to do that, but it could be done. It could be done. And the math that goes with the electronics. You know, it's a way to learn math without even knowing it. I will say for a second that anybody that's out there saying, oh, I can't do math, it's not for me. No, you're not willing to just do the homework and do the repetition necessary to let it sink in. They're ruining kids. A lot of parents are ruining kids unneedlessly by telling them math is hard. It's not hard, it's just practice. Anyway, we've been working with electricity for 150 years or so. And it's more than just magical, the fun of the Lichtenberg process. It's a very, very powerful thing. I mean, in the most literal sense of what power means, it's very powerful. It's made lives better and possible for everybody. Without electricity, we would not have been able to harness the power of the fossil fuels even. I don't want to go into that. It's just so complicated, the different ways that electricity is intimately bound with knowledge, science, STEM knowledge, and all the other fields. But it's not really taught in the public schools. Why? Electricity, you might get a little bit in high school if you're one of the super smart kids at the end and you happen to be lucky enough still these days to get a decent teacher. Good luck with that. It should be taught from the first grade with math. And if the teachers can't handle it, kick their union butts out. Get in people that can do it. Now, where's my mouse here? Hold on a second. I've got a little cue card here. You can tell I'm looking up and down. I wrote this out. Of course, I'm ad-libbing half of it into it, so excuse me. But, well, I guess that was it. That was it. Yeah. So, anyway, this Lichtenberg process, it's more than just trying to keep woodworkers alive and people that want to make a living off of this. That's the main thing. I'm just seeing so much crap on the internet. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I'm totally off script here, okay? I've seen so much crap on the internet that reminds me of liberal bullshit that's, oh, just trust me because I think this is the way to do it and I have so much experience. You know, the social engineering, there's no experience with it. There's no data whatsoever, yet we go along with this crap. And I'm seeing the exact same thing here with some of these folks that are saying, oh, I do it this way and I haven't had an accident in 3 years I've been doing it, or 7 years, or 10 years, or 100 years. I don't care what the number of years is. There's a lot of stuff that you can't see unless you're trained to see it. And you've actually seen things go wrong. And that's a hard point to make, that a lot of people aren't going to let that sink in. But whatever, I'm going to do what I can. That's all I can do. I love and hate this clip at the same time. It's so nostalgic and politically incorrect. But it's just not. Don't be afraid of it. It's not just that it won't kill you. It might kill you. It depends what you know about it and how you treat it, and a little bit of luck. So yeah. Remember, kids. It should say something like, "Remember, kids, electricity can kill you if you don't have enough knowledge to know how to respect it." It's not a matter of respecting it or not. It's a matter of knowing how to respect it and why. The why is the thing. It's all about the why. Okay, enough. Bye-bye.